Maybe a change. It'd be easy enough to get out.
Wayne County Board of Commissioners is back in session. I think the next item is county manager's comments.
Chairman, I've got a few things to go over. One is, I want to make y'all aware that I've been talking with the Veterans Services Officer about making some changes in the hours of operation down there. And the reason is to give better service to our veterans. As y'all know, right now, they're only open 4 days a week. And I've indicated to her that I'd like her to change that. She's got some appointments scheduled for different hours through the 23rd. So on June the 24th, we want to change back to a 5-day work week. And what we're going to do there is one of them, where there's 2 employees there, one will work from 8 to 5, the other will work from 9 to 6. So that'll actually give us coverage in the office from 8 until 6 every day, but it'll be open all 5 days of the week. And that should give us better service for our veterans that are utilizing that. And again, that'll start on June the 24th. And she'll have that out on our website under Veterans Services. But I wanted to, Steve, if you wouldn't mind, if you publicize that a little bit, we'd appreciate that. On the airport manager, we are preparing the ad now. We had a very good meeting with George Futrell, who's the airport manager down in Duplin County, and Ray and I went down there. He has been a big help to us. And what we're going to do is advertise that probably in about a 3-state area. He gave us the contacts for North Carolina. We made contact with that lady this week. She said they'd be more than happy to not only put it on their website, but also send out an email to all of their membership, making them aware of the opening. And that's really the target market. Ideally, we'd like to get someone with North Carolina experience. But we're also going to advertise it. We're getting the contact people for both Virginia and South Carolina as well. So that'll give us a 3-state area to look at. So I wanted to make you aware of that. That is underway, and we're starting that recruitment as soon as possible. As far as the OES director, I'd like to talk with y'all probably at the next meeting about some possibilities there that I'd like to talk with you about, maybe some restructuring on that. Wanted you to be aware, I think all of you are aware, because I believe I carboned you all on the letter that I sent to East Point. Isn't that right? You all got that? So we're waiting to hear. I've gotten a little bit of the information on their budget, but I haven't gotten most of the information that I had requested. On the Mount Olive Airport properties map, I wanted you to be aware that we got that map prepared, and probably 60% of the airport runway area is jointly owned. It's not a small area like we thought originally. And so that just brings back the issue that fairly soon we need to move on going ahead and deeding those properties over to the town of Mount Olive from a liability standpoint. Number 5, just wanted you to be aware, I think we had kept you in the loop on this. The application to the LGC on the financing was sent off Friday. They have requested a little more information here and there from us. Pam is responding to that. I've got to write one letter this afternoon on something they asked about, and then I think we're pretty much in good shape going forward there. We do need to get a report from the BOE on the bid results and their recommendations on awards, and we're waiting to get that. They've got the bids, but we need it in order so that we can see what the aggregate amount would be if you take the low responsible bidder on each one of those and you add those up. Where are we? So we need to get that to the LGC as soon as possible. You had requested, I think at the last meeting or maybe the one before, that you wanted to have the JCPC invited to present info to you. Marcia has done that, and we're waiting to hear back from them. And
She's going to come in the first meeting in August.
First meeting in August.
She's on vacation next in July.
All right, so we've got that taken care of.
One other thing we're working on, we've been meeting, we are currently with BB&T on our banking and also our investments. We're looking at some changes in our investment policy, and we think we've got some products that they have now that will work for us, that will give us a much better rate of return than what we're currently looking at. But in order to do that, we're also going to need to change our policy. But we'll be back to you, if not at the next meeting, definitely by the one after that. And so we think we can make an improvement on that going forward. And the only other thing I wanted to mention to you is, and I'm sure everybody realizes that the Steele Memorial Library, we plan on opening it sometime in July, and we'll firm up that date shortly. But we're waiting on making sure that our shelving contractor is there and is on time and has everything in place. That's the one big ticket item that we definitely have to have taken care of. So, but it should take place sometime in the second half of July.
Can I interrupt you just a second?
Yes, sir.
On the library?
Yes, sir.
What's the progress on getting the parking lot paved?
You're talking about across the street? My understanding from the town is they were waiting until all the construction was done on the memorial over there. They don't want any heavy trucks in there, and then they'll put an overlay on it. That's our understanding of it. And I think that's what they had told Donna the last time we talked.
I just want to make sure that we don't open that new library and then the parking lot doesn't get paved.
I agree. I agree.
That's what I've been told also. So they were using the other one as a staging area.
Yeah, for the Veterans Park stuff they were doing. Right. Okay. And that's pretty much what I've got. I did want to mention to you that I will be out of town Thursday and Friday and Saturday. We have the North Carolina City County Managers Association summer meeting over in Charlotte. So I'll be over there and be back in Sunday.
Okay. Anyone got any questions for Mr. Wood?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor?
In reference to the Mount Olive Airport, the property conveying to Mount Olive, what do we need to do? I'm prepared to make a motion that we do that and let the board vote on it if we're at that point, because we all understand that we need to get this out from under our liability, and I'm prepared to make that motion if that's in order. And do we need to move that quick?
It may be a question for Mr. Parker and Mr.
Excuse me, I'm ready to get a deed prepared anytime you make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we convey the Wayne County portion of the Mount Olive Airport to the town of Mount Olive as soon as possible.
At no charge.
At no charge.
Oh,
That's good.
Mr. Karate.
I know you.
Maybe a dog.
I know you want to say something.
Well,
A thank you would be nice.
I reserve any comment on that. I hope that this conveyance winds up being a benefit to all parties.
It should. I don't see any negative for the town here. I think the concern had been whether we were going to continue our financial support, and I think this board has indicated that you are. In fact, the budget has the same amount in it as it had last year.
And keeping in mind, this little thing that plays in the corner of my mind all the time is the county's investment in the industrial park and the partnership that is in sort of in place with Mount Olive and the county where that's concerned.
That's right.
And therefore, it ought to play, in my mind, a cooperation between the county and Mount Olive where the airport is concerned.
Right.
But from where I sit, it sounds like the county, of which I'm a part of, and the Mount Olive, of which I'm a part of, wants this to be conveyed to Mount Olive. And so, having said that, I just will not have any other comment. I just hope it all works out.
I do.
Mr. Bailey?
I had the opportunity, and I think you did too, Mr. Mayor, to speak with Ray McDonald the other day at the CDA meeting, and he had no problem with it as long as we continued to financial support otherwise.
Right.
So he was fine with it otherwise.
Well, that's the part I heard.
And as part of your motion to be on the absolute safe side, you did say you were declaring it surplus and conveying it to them.
Okay. So I'm declaring it surplus?
That's part of your motion.
Okay. Do I need to?
Yeah.
Does he need to restate his motion?
I think Ms. Wilson has it.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I only have one question. Do we not have to have some valuable consideration, like $1 or anything?
Not when you're giving it to a
Not when you're giving it.
And
Okay.
when you're giving it to a municipality or the government.
Okay, okay.
It's kind of like to say you didn't have to get anything when you tried to convey the cemetery property to the state. By the way, they haven't, they've done all the work, but they haven't told us they're ready to have the deed.
So governments can transfer without any consideration. However, in private individuals have to have a consideration.
That's right.
I suppose. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor of the motion, show by sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. So that's all your comments?
Yes, sir, I'm
Okay,
done.
before we move into, the commissioner's comments, I've got one motion I want to put on the floor. Steve Herron ought to like this one. I'll make a
Get
motion.
ready.
I would like to make a motion that when we have our public comments, that we put it back at 3 minutes like it used to be.
And one time a month.
Well, we'll leave it at 2, but I think we need to cut it back to 3 minutes. And that's in form of a motion.
I'll even second that.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Darty?
would you amend the motion to allow, or is this proper, that the chairman have discretion to extend the time limit? Or do you need to specifically have it at 3 minutes?
Problem, you certainly could do that. The problem that if you do that, everybody's going to, who hadn't finished in 3 minutes is going to say, would you extend it? And then you put the chairman kind of in a bad spot if he's willing to extend it.
Well, better he than me. I understand. Okay, never mind, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor?
was one of the reasons that we also increased it was to allow citizens time to get their point across on a particular issue, that we felt like that 3 minutes wasn't enough in some cases. And also, how many times can the same citizen stand up during a commissioner meeting, one commissioner meeting, and have different subjects to talk about? Or will they be allowed to get up more than one time? I know that all that was in question when we moved it from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. And can somebody refresh my memory on that? One of you commissioners?
I do not remember.
Mr. Bell, you
Well,
remember?
it seemed like since we only have one citizen coming, Tom Drew, it shouldn't be a problem. We don't have that problem with no other citizen even coming up wanting to speak more than one. So I think if a person can't say what they want to say in 3 minutes, I mean,
And I think what Mr. Parker just said, if it's a issue that is, and all issues are very important, but if they've got an issue that's going to take more than 3 minutes, regardless of who the chairman is, I think that the chairman would most likely grant them a few minutes, but I don't think we need to have it in the
if
word.
they're saying something, yeah.
I don't think we need to have it in our minutes or in the wording that that they would grant them any extra time, but I know, I would if it was something very vital or, you know, importance. Mr. Darby?
I think we're looking to make a change in policy only because of one individual that appears to be abusing the system. It's just that simple. And it appears as if other boards have handled this in a different way rather than reducing the time for everybody as a result of one individual. They've handled it in some other way to prevent or limit those comments. So I would really, but prior to voting on this, I would really like to ask the county manager and the county attorney to see if there are some other options other than limiting everyone's time. And I understand your frustration, I'm there with you, but I think it might do us well to ask them to study and see if there's some other way, rather than reducing time for everybody, whether there's another way that we may be able to handle this and produce the same results.
I do not have a problem with withdrawing my motion, but at least everyone knows how I stand right now. But I will withdraw my motion, and Mr. Parker and Mr. Wood, if you would look into it, because my understanding is that maybe the way some other groups has handled it, it really might not be lawful, and we want to make sure that we're going strictly by general statute, what action, whatever action, if any actions that we do take.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kamari.
I'm glad, well, maybe you withdrawing your motion and tossing it over to the hands of the attorney and the manager. But I would only like to ask them to make sure that we did not remove the opportunity for citizens to feel free to come to voice their opinions, although they may be vague or might not be what we might have gone in front of the public to say. But almost without exception, there is oftentimes a glimmer of information in folks' comments, whether or not it's thoroughly explained or not. So free speech is a very important part of America. So we sometimes use 4 minutes to elaborate on other things that somebody in the public might say, man, I wish they'd cut that short. So I want us to be cautious as we venture down that road.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bailey.
I want to be sure we don't confuse this with public hearing comments, you know, the two separate things, because.
Yeah, this is the open.
Yeah, well, I'm just
comment.
make sure everybody understands that, because that's a subject that we are here to listen to. And we don't listen to anybody's comments, but they should be focused enough in, like you said, I think in 3 minutes. But I don't want to limit. We need to go the route you're talking about.
Well, I'll have Cindy just check around on 10 or 12 area counties and see what they do. That should give us.
I'm sure there's more than one Mr. Drew in North Carolina.
Oh, yes, I can assure you of that.
But we missed it if they didn't come see us.
I have
Mr.
to.
Bailey.
I just need to ask the attorney, would we be getting into a free speech area if we, for an example, and I don't mind calling Mr. Drew's name, he come up and for weeks on, right in a row, he'll come up and talk about the same thing with his little signs and have the same comments, almost. You can't limit that, can you?
In my opinion, you cannot.
Right, okay.
You're going to have to treat everybody the same way.
Yeah.
But we don't have to televise it.
You don't. You absolutely
So there may be
not.
some other ways that we can handle it.
You mean televise a particular person or the whole thing?
Any public comment.
But then you're being arbitrary and capricious.
Violation of the
We'll
right.
just-
And I mean, we won't, we'll spend more than 4
We'll
minutes
take a
on
look
this.
at it.
Y'all stay.
Well, I'll just make my final comment. Can you restrict people from coming up quizzing us rather than just coming up making comment?
Well, you don't have to answer the questions.
Oh,
You just,
okay.
you know, and the chairman can say it, or you can just sit there without saying anything.
Okay.
But it's not the time for them to come and ask you questions, it's time for them to come tell you what's on their mind.
Right, that's what.
I only recall one person making an answer, and that's probably not. Gotcha.
Okay, let's move on. I withdrew my motion, and, Mr. Daugherty just proved one thing, you know, someone can create conversation other than you. Okay, moving on to Commissioners' committee reports and comments. Mr. Bell?
Okay, met with the Juvenile Justice Partnership. Ms. Suda Davis is the chairman of that committee, and she stated last Friday that Wayne County is number 3 in the state as for what we do with our juveniles and our young people, which I thought was a pretty good idea. Went to my first meeting with East Point, and that was pretty interesting. Was glad to be back, and that committee is still, the East Point is still growing, and they're trying to decide now whether or not they're going to go with the 35 counties, which is going to be a lot of people, and we don't quite know how to handle that yet. They don't know how to handle it. My third thing, Eastern Region had their last meeting last Thursday as an Eastern Region, and I found out one thing about that region. You know, I was appointed by former Governor Beverly Perdue to that board, and I stayed on there 2 years after the new governor came into office. So don't y'all mess with me. I got a good relationship with Governor McCrory. He didn't take me off. So everybody uses it as a joke. They thought that it was going to be business as usual. You know, when a new governor come in, all of the old governors appointed, they kind of kick them off. But he didn't bother with me. He left me on the board. So I got a good relationship with Governor McCrory. And the Gateway, the county manager explained about the CEO being transferred to the Gateway system. And based on the history of Gateway, she could have worked for either the city or the county. But back then they chose for her to work for the county. But there was no rhyme or reason as to why she was working for the county, just something that the board voted and everybody agreed to it. The city could have very well had her working for them. But that's a done deal now. She is the Gateway employee. Money-wise, there's not that much difference in the pay. The pay is pretty much the same when you talk about the benefits and all that stuff that's attached. So I think she's doing a pretty good job at working out the system, trying to make it solvent. I will say this about the CEO of Gateway. I don't know if all the commissioners remember this or not, and I won't call his name, but his initial is Joe Daugherty. He asked her to show some profit back when she first came up to the board. So that's what she took her lead from you, Mr. Daugherty.
Is that right?
That's right. Trying to create some profits. But she's doing pretty good, and it's just going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of cooperation from everybody in order to make that system solvent, you know. And the people that need the Gateway system, they don't sit up here on this board because I don't think any of us need it. But there's a lot of people out there, and they're doing a lot of good as to what they do for the citizens of Wayne County. So I hope we kind of buckle down and maybe learn a little bit more about the system, as I stated in it earlier this morning, and find out how the system works, and then maybe we can understand it a little bit better. The county have not put that much money into that system in the past 3 or 4 years. And so, if any, I don't know, is Pam, she's not here, is she?
I am. I'm
Oh,
down
okay.
here. It has been several years.
Yes, it's been several years since we put any money at all in that system, so although there's taxpayer dollars, it's coming from a different direction. It's not coming direct out of the county's fund balance. So I just hope that we take a good look at it because they provide, as I said before, a good service. Wayne Community College, a lot of those students ride the bus to and from college. A lot of the fast food workers ride the system. So there's a lot of good people, and doctors. I won't even mention the people that ride the system going to and from doctors' appointments. And so they do a lot of good work. So I would invite all of you to come to the meetings and sit down and talk. Matter of fact, they told me to ask this of you. Come and sit down and talk with them and learn more about how Gateway works. So that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Mayor?
Oh, skipping around
I'm
today.
skipping around.
Okay. It's already been mentioned, June 5th, I was present with the interviews for the Wayne County Agricultural Research Center, and as already been mentioned, the great presentations, and we found out who the winner was today. But on that same day, we had the Wayne Executive Jetport Advisory Committee met, and finally, after months of permits and delays and so forth, the tank farm project is finally being installed. So we should see that complete. I believe it was said about a month or so as far as the installation. We also discussed stormwater ditches and airport entrance signs. We actually put off a few things that were, they're not an emergency, but future projects in the near future. We actually decided to put those off a little while until we can get a new airport manager. And once a new airport manager comes in, then we can crank those items back up. On June 11th, I had the WCDA board meeting, and of course we always discuss how many contacts, how many inquiries that we had from businesses to move into Wayne County. Mike Haney always gives a report on existing businesses and how we're doing. And it could look better, but it's not as bad as it has been in the past. There seems to be a little bit of glimmer of increase in our business activity. Joanna Helms at that meeting announced her resignation effective July 11, 2014. And there was a lot of reminiscence from the board members that have been there for a long time, that go way back. I think Joanna had been with the county like 21 years. And we just reminisced and talked about what had been accomplished, and we certainly wish her well at her new job. While I'm talking about the WCDA, well, I'll just go on down. Oh, we had a great commissioners meeting on June 11th too. Lasted 9 minutes. And of course, we all know what that was for. That was to vacuum up the rest of the Eastern Region money, which was closed on today.
That's right.
And so we are all finished with all that at this point. No other outstanding loans. Is that correct, Pam?
You're correct.
Okay. And we have a total of $3 million and what?
Just over 3 million.
Just over 3 million and some change that, okay, we certainly can use it. Also, on June 11th, attended the Goldsboro Country Club to welcome Colonel Mark Slocum as our new base commander at Seymour Jackson Air Force Base. He and his wife are very pleasant to talk with, and looks like he's going to be a good fit for Wayne County. As Mr. Bell already mentioned, we had the last Eastern Region meeting in Kinston on June 12th, and there's a lot of history of the Eastern Region, so that's about what that was all about too. Long-time employees, but a lot of those employees, as a matter of fact, all of them are switching over to the NC East Alliance. which met directly after the Eastern Region meeting, so we had meetings back to back. So the East Alliance, the North Carolina Eastern Alliance Board, is a private public partnership. It's a nonprofit organization that has been the name has been there since Eastern Region was first formed. When they formed Eastern Region, they went ahead and formed a nonprofit that's been dormant because they knew one day they might need it. So the NC East Alliance has always been there. It's just become active since the Eastern Region is ceasing to exist as of the last day of this month. We did approve on the East Alliance Board, we did approve our fiscal year budget 2014-15 of $1,907,432. That's our first budget that we have approved. That afternoon, on June 12th, I was able to go to out on Highway 581, the Ryerson Open House, located out on 581, and that's Ryerson Steel has been one of my steel suppliers for 36 years. They're an old company, they're nationwide, they do a great job, and when they decided up in Wayne County, it was really a feather not only in their hat but ours, because a lot of the industries in this area, they didn't have to wait for the material to come from Charlotte. They could actually come over on their own truck like I do and go pick it up here. So they've opened up a second facility out there, and the new equipment, the new technology, it's just way beyond me anymore. It's I can't even program the new machines. So we're really glad to see those jobs coming, and we just need more of them. That's what we need in Wayne County. On yesterday, I attended the TAC meeting, which is Transportation Advisory Committee, which is part of the MPO, and Commissioner Daughter was there, and I have to tell you that I was a little bit disappointed as to some of the things I heard about transportation. For example, only 10% of our regional projects are due to economic development. That's unacceptable to all of us. And Gus Tullis that was there, he said, well, there's going to be some tweaking going on when it gets to the state level. But it was really a little bit unnerving being in the manufacturing sector like I am, that only 10% of the regional projects were based on economic development. And the reason was that the DOT said they didn't have a way of measuring whether economic development, they couldn't justify it. I said, well, out at Kitty Hawk, where you're going to do an $85 million project on a 4-lane, 6-lane road that's only got 2 lanes on both ends, and you can justify $85 million out there, but you can't justify economic development. I said, it really didn't hold water, but I have faith that the new formula that the DOT is using and so forth is going to come in line to favor economic development. Also, yesterday afternoon, attended another meeting on the Advanced Training Center for Wayne County. And that's one of the things that I use with the DOT is that we as a county, we are doing everything we can to train people for jobs that are coming and that are already here in Wayne County. We're training them. But are we really getting together on infrastructure to entice businesses and industry to move to Wayne County? So it takes a collaboration of all of us to make this happen, including the DOT. So I'm hoping that things will sort of take a turn and some changes that will be made to make economic development more of a priority. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Pate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since I went to every meeting that Mr. Mayo went to, I keep mine under 3 minutes.
Thanks. Mr. Drew.
We did go to, the Deputy City A the other day, and I wish Ms. Helms the best of luck in her move to Apex. I really do. I attended an advanced training center yesterday, and I really enjoyed going out to Ryerson last Thursday because I'd never been out there before, and I've been to most manufacturing places in the county, but not there. And I got to congratulate Scott Adams. That was the best brisket I've eaten in a long time. And at the reception for Colonel Slocum, I got a chance to talk to his wife, and I'll make sure I say this correctly if I'm wrong. That what are you laughing at? That I didn't realize that she had also flown in the F-15, and she was a weapons officer. So I thought that was very impressive that she told me about that. We went to the Board of Transportation meeting in Raleigh. Was it like a week and a half ago?
It rained.
It rained hard. And a lot of it was the same information we've been getting on the 70 Corridor Commission, but we found out a couple of things. One is a delay on the west side of ours, and they said it's going to be 2016. They did not say why. I don't know yet. Maybe we'll find that out on Thursday when we go to Carter County to the 70 Corridor Commission. And the other thing I got probably more out of was the economic developer from Clayton was there, and he talked about the possibilities of what would happen when you have a bypass going around. For Clayton, it was a positive economic impact, but we still have our doubts here in Wayne County that, we might not suffer some sales tax loss in the earliest part of it opening up. We have to wait and see. Met with Purple Heart the other day. That's still moving forward for the August event. And I don't think Mr. Doddard being a sponsor, I understand that he wrote a check. Anybody else could do that as well. I sent everybody a cemetery.
Hold on just a minute. What
Yes.
was you saying, me write a
Well,
check?
Vic Miller came in, so I got a check from
Oh, that's right.
from Joe Dollar. He's a sponsor. So I encourage everybody else to follow you, right?
All right.
And thank you so much. And I'll be selling tickets to anybody who wants some. And I sent everybody a copy from Eli Panay on the State Veterans Cemetery, and I've already copied that. As a matter of fact, Steve's already written the story and used Argus on it. But that is moving forward, and I would like to go in and kind of put this up front, that I'm going to contact him because he wants to come down in person sometime, probably maybe next meeting, to give us a formal update on what's going on there, so everybody don't know what's happening. And the most positive thing that I got from his email, which you didn't put on there, and maybe you did in your story, was he had told me that he was going to retire June 30. And in my email, I asked him to reconsider that, and he said he already had. He's going to stay with the project to the end. And that's a great thing because the man really knows what he's doing there. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Mr. Dodd.
See, I have 28 minutes. Please. I did, in fact, Mr. Bell, I did stop by the Gateway Board meeting and visited with you all, along with, I think was that Bill that was there? Did you stop by too? I think it was Mr. Payne.
I was catching a ride with you.
Okay, but anyway, just to kind of get myself attuned in regards to what's going on with the Gateway Board. We left from there and attended the Highway 70 committee meeting with the North Carolina Department of Transportation in Raleigh. We received updates on those projects. The Board of Election met last Tuesday, and they discussed and approved a calendar for the November elections. And that has been posted on the Board of Elections website for anybody that is looking for that. We also held the monthly meeting of the Board of Health, and we should be having our new dental lab rolled out. I am anticipating sometime right after the 4th of July. I'm looking forward to that. Work continues by our committee to complete the Goldsboro Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is a 5-year plan that is updated every 5 years. A public meeting will be held to seek the community's input. It will be held on Tuesday, June the 24th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the City Hall Annex, second floor large conference room. That's, of course, there on Center Street. I attended and greeted the base commander when he came in, and I can definitely say that he is a good fit for Wayne County, and I'll give you an example of that. We were in the parking lot, and there was a designated parking space for the new commander. And we were all standing there waiting for his arrival, and all of a sudden this vehicle drove up and parked right there in front of it. And the gentleman got out, dressed very similar to the way I am now, and I said, well, that couldn't be the base commander, so I rushed over there to tell him that he had parked in the wrong parking place. But, a very personal fellow, and I welcome him to Wayne County. I attended the Ryerson plant open house, and that was interesting. I left from there and stopped by to see the bid submission and opening of the bids for Spring Creek and Grantham Middle Schools. And I was anticipating they'd have it all totaled up and we'd know exactly how much they were going to cost that day. Well, I kind of overestimated that. We should have those bids sometime the latter part of this week. Lastly, I did attend the Goldsboro MPO meeting. I had a visitor that came in and visited with us as well. Mr. Mayo stopped in, and I think it does show some frustration and heartburn that I have and many others have in regards to this new transportation formula. We, in fact, did assign points here in the Goldsboro Metropolitan Plan on those projects that we felt were most beneficial to our area. But it was disclosed that not only that economic development only accounted for 10% of the formula, and that the majority of that was weighted toward congestion and population. Well, folks, if that's the case, if we don't change this formula, I don't think we're ever going to hardly fare well with this formula, because the congestion and population is definitely on the other side of I-95. So it's something that we are really going to have to do some politicking and some lobbying for to get some changes on. The project that it appeared to be that was going to be funded was the improvements to a road on the Outer Banks near Kitty Hawk. And of all things, how is that going to affect and improve the lives in eastern North Carolina? Now, I suppose if you got a beach house down over there in Kitty Hawk, it's going to help you immensely. And from what I'm understanding, it was because that was a congested area. And so the weight of the formula pushed it way up into the project list, because there was so much congestion there in Kitty Hawk, probably on Friday and Saturday night on the 4th of July weekend. Because if you stop and think about it, the population on Kitty Hawk goes dramatically down in the winter. And again, that's not taken into consideration. But anyway, there is a lot of frustration over this, and I'm hoping that our legislators and fellow board members will do all they can to get possibly some changes and tweaking in that formula. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Mr. Kamar.
Mr. Chairman, before he speaks, he's the wing commander, not base commander.
Oh, is that right?
There's a
I'm
big
sorry.
difference.
Wing commander. Thank you.
Mr. Kamar.
Well, I inadvertently yielded 30 seconds of my time to Mr. Bell and Mr. Doherty to finish their conversation. Just for public consumption, the average so far for the commission's comments has been about 6 minutes, with a high being 10 and a low being 2.5. So I'm gonna take my next 10 minutes to speak about Medicaid expansion. Because Mr. Doherty knows that's one of my passions, as the highway situation is his passion. And therefore I say that in a joking manner so that I will further give attention to the fact that when folk come to speak, they usually have a passion. And when we speak about things, that's all I want to do is make just a little bit of a comparison, although we're not talking about apples and apples. Now let me go on. I'm going to keep mine short. I have had the opportunity to attend also the base commander's arrival. The wing commander, thank you, John. The wing commander I do also find him, he's not quite like the real spit and polish, full uniform, and he's a more very personal guy, but that's not to say that I still have a great confidence that he flies that F-18 or whatever it is. With whichever number it is, that's one of those real bullet planes flying across the sky. And so we have a lot of confidence in our new man coming. I also would like to say that I'm on the committee of the East Carolina Council, and last Thursday, the storms were marching from west to east, and I called Judith and let her know that I would not be at the meeting. But they do a very good job of providing information, so I had the two booklets that I had perused earlier. And after speaking to her, she told me that she would send me the updates of what she was going to speak about, because that's the only thing that wouldn't be in the booklet. And looking on my smartphone, it was one thing that she was concerned about, and it was about the historic tax credit that is in front of a North Carolina legislature right now. So those who are listening to this, who know more about what the historic credit tax credit program is about, they might want to call their favorite legislature and say something about that, because it seems that over time, $1.6 billion in private investments has been involved in that. $124 million for the state gross domestic product, and Mr. Mayo, one thing that's of a pique would be a pique of your interest is the retention of jobs. I mean, I know you talk about that a lot, and you bring that up. And this through this historic tax credit program, they have either created or retained 2,200 jobs. So I would just like to, bring some attention to that, so that anyone who has some tight connection with the state might be able to call and say, hey, pay close attention to that program, because it's very important to a group. Also, the budget was approved per the information that I have from the East Carolina Council. I would like to just add one thing, though, Mr. Darter, that does have a little bit of a connection to the Medicaid. In listening to the presentation this morning with healthcare, the new healthcare plan we have for the jail, I asked a question, I made a comment, I said something about the fact that we have to take full credit for the folk who come into our jail. The way that I understand the affordable health care and its relationship to Medicaid is that there's a category of folk who have to qualify for Medicaid to be able to get the affordable health care. If I don't have it, I think that's the route. Well, the way I connect the dots, if the Medicaid expansion is in place and the folk who might be heading towards the jail were in that program, then whenever they got to the jail, rather than that burden being all on our taxpayer in Wayne County, it may be spread either to the state or to the federal government. And I know it takes more of the explanation, but that's just the way I connect the dots with the information that I gleaned from everything. The second thing that I wanted to mention this morning was that, still related to that agency, and this is not a criticism of the budget, it's just that I want to make somewhat of a comparison. Earlier when we were discussing the budget, there was some, I would call it resistance to giving our employees a cost of living raise, of which we did not do. We gave them a bonus, which was the best that it was perceived that we could do this year. But in accepting the contract we did this morning, it's noted that each, for the next 2 years, they will be entitled to a 2% increase in their fees. So when you look at ... if you're working for an outside agency who may contract with us, you might get you a 2% raise. But we question whether what we may do for our inside employees. I would just want all of us to consider those kinds of things when we're further down the road talking about cost of living versus bonus and those kind of things. And I'll end with this, and this is passion on my part. A person cannot plan, no matter what level you're at. You cannot hardly plan your budget with a bonus, because you have to know that the money is going to be coming on a continuous basis to plan anyone's budgets. At least that's the way that budget planning has always worked at my house. And so I always did not like someone to say, I'm going to give you a bonus, because that's so temporary. I would want to know that the actions that I have taken would qualify me to have a cost of living. Now, I understand from what I read the budget that merit raises are possible and so forth and so on. As it is, I think when a person has worked their temporary portion, they are eligible for a cost or a % raise. And I appreciate those things. But I just could not help but take an opportunity this morning as I thought about how we're doing certain things certain ways that I would not want us to inadvertently not do something for our regular employees that they may get by working for an agency we contract with and they be eligible for the same kinds of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I'll keep mine brief, but most of the functions that I went to has already been mentioned. I would like to say though that I did also go to the reception for the wing commander. Appreciate everyone else going that could go, and we had a pretty good turnout. Also attended the open house out at Ryerson. And like Commissioner Mayo said, it's amazing the equipment they've got, the cost of that equipment, and the size of a piece of steel that they can work with. And also they did share with us that facility out in the middle of the country. They do have 35 employees with a potential of 70 in the next couple of years. So that's good for Wayne County. And they're right next to Benton and Sons, which is a local owned company that has 52 employees. So the steel business has been good to Wayne County. Also, this past Saturday, I attended the function night at the Charles B. Aycock birthplace. Had beautiful weather and had a larger turnout than we did last year. I was pleasantly surprised and pleased. And also the state, they are doing a better job of tracking how many people go and come. They put a counter on the driveway now, so if you happen to go down Aycock Birthplace Road, just pull in, turn around, and go back out. but really, we had a good turnout, and that's what it's going to take to keep that facility open. Also, tonight, the Wayne County Firemen's Association having their monthly meeting at Goldsboro Fire Department, and hopefully they'll have something to eat. They had a little slip up over there, but they'll take care of it. And also, Mail will notify our people, but I just wanted to mention the First Church on Wayne Memorial, right across from Carly C's, where I attend church. They are real good in recognizing people behind the scene that does a lot. This past Sunday, naturally it was Father's Day, so they recognized all the fathers and had something special for them. This coming Sunday, they are recognizing all law enforcement, sheriff, police, any law enforcement, fire, and EMS. And I'm extending an invitation that if any of our people would like to go to church, they have a 9 o'clock service and a 10:45 service, and this will be recognizing what they call them heroes. I inform them that we're not heroes. I mean, I've been in the fire service a long time. We're not heroes. We're just your neighbor. But they are recognizing those groups this coming Sunday, and hope that some of our county people in uniform will participate. And basically, that's all I have. If no one else has anything.
I'd like to make one more comment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cromartie mentioned about the tax credit. That was a good program that Mr. Payton and I used for years when we was employed by the state of North Carolina. And I would ask him if he would to check to see if that program is still, who's eligible for that program, because employees could benefit by hiring certain categories of people, you know.
It used to be called target jobs tax
Yeah,
credits,
right.
now it's worker opportunity tax credit.
A lot of people doesn't know about it. A lot of people doesn't know about it, but it's a good program, and you can get a tremendous tax break as an employer by hiring certain people. So,
And it's only for private industry that work for government.
And just to add to that, she says in front of, the important thing is sounds like it's in front of the legislature right now, so anybody could make an impact, call.
No, but this was a federal program.
Oh,
If no one else has anything, before, we need to adjourn, but just as soon as we adjourn, we need to have a Board of Adjustments
Right.
meeting. Mr. Parker, can we do that before we adjourn, or after, or what's the
After.
procedure?
Could I, Mr. Chairman, could I
Yes,
add one thing?
yes, sir, Mr.
I just wanted to clarify something, based on what Mr. Cromartie said. I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page here. I was not proceeding forward with the 2.5% probationary increases. We would have to change our personnel policy on that, and I wasn't planning on doing that because I thought the feedback I got was, at the budget, you did not want to do that. Is that, am
That's
I
where
right
I'm
on
at.
that?
That's where,
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music there. Okay.
anyone else? Do I have a motion?
So, motion to adjourn.
I have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor, should sign the right hand. Motion carries unanimous.